Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday Mastermind Speak to Grow. My name is Kathy Riley, and I am joined by Mac and Mary Beth, and we are launched into a very juicy conversation. So I hit record, and we're going to continue talking about how Mac went to an event. The speaker moderator was being disrespectful, asking questions of the crowd, and then interrupting in the response. And he's now paying attention to this, paying attention to how speakers operate. And so let's pick up this conversation again. This isn't where we're supposed to go today, but hopefully we'll have time. But let's talk about this, Matt, because I think this is great. Mary Beth, I saw your note about not feeling well and she has laryngitis. So she's struggling speaking, and I get that. I have the chat open. So to the extent you want to chime in on any of this, put it in the chat because I want you to be able to participate. And welcome to Achieve. We appreciate you being here. So Matt, keep going.
So as I said, he was interrupting, and I think that's very disrespectful that a moderator shouldn't lose his audience before he even gets started with them. And this was in the first 15 minutes of a 3-day, 30-hour seminar. What I recognized at the end of the 3 days, and through the whole process, I was wondering if this was just part of his presentation to get people to think. We had one-on-one. There's 50 of us in the room. You would stand with a person. You'd say what you got out of it from that person, what their participation and being with you added to my life. And I must have had 14 or 15 people that came up and said what they got was that I said what I said to this moderator, and it made them feel comfortable that they could actually say what they felt. So I thought it was interesting. I'm sure that I shocked people, and I'm a big boy and I can take a punch, and but at the same time, I think and one of the things I've learned with you is how we have to control situations, but we don't lose situations when we're speaking. And that little Kathy in the back of my head was going on.
Well, and you know what? So this is the legal brain of mine. Okay, so I spent 25 years litigation. You don't ask a question and know unless you know the answer, right? And that's if you have a direct path. Now, as a speaker, and what I love about this arena in the speaker, as a coach, is whatever, that the questions are designed to go into the direction of the audience. You have to remember, as a speaker, it's not about me. I'm a toolkit, right? I have tools to provide to this audience. And so asking questions, you never know. It's beautiful. You never know where you're going to go because every answer is going to be based on the audience that you have. And so he asked, so feedback is not failure, okay? It is just feedback, right? And did he show up a little differently in asking questions then? Did he give people a little bit more room to speak?
Not as much, but he did stay away, from asking me questions. But the interesting part about it, and I think that so many audiences are like this, it was very diverse. There was a married couple that flew in from Florida for this. I believe they were Hindu, and you could see the dynamics of the man being the man and doing what they do in that type of relationship. There were two young sisters that their dad had taken the course. He's an attorney, and said, you have to go take this course before you go to college. There was a brother sister, and I identified with the brother, 19, hasn't talked to his dad in 5 years. And I saw myself
Mhm.
and that when I'm looking at that, and there was a lot of one-on-one, a lot of small groups as they called them, where there was 6 or 7 of us, and then there were whole big groups, all 50, open round robin thing. But the diversity is what interests me. How many young people were there, not because they were being forced to, but something in their life told them they needed to take control of where their life was at. And you can imagine all the wide spectrum that is at 18 to 25. But all in all, I will probably do the advanced classes
Mhm.
because I liked it that much. And I'm not a touchy-feely guy. Uh, and that, but it was interesting doing it. The other thing they said, you cannot make contact with anybody for 30 days after the seminar. They didn't want people coming in and soliciting services and doing all that. You could exchange information, but we made a rule that we would not talk directly to anybody for 30 days, which is kind of strange to me. It's like, I want to start it yesterday.
Well, well, there's a couple reasons. So I've been part of programs like that as well, because typically the people that are there, the speakers, the trainers, and all of that, you've got your overall brand and program, but then each individual incorporates that program in their own business. So you may end up doing business with an individual versus the whole program. And that's why you've got to give them 30 days so that the program is going to send you stuff. You're going to get emails and information and call to action. So that's part of what I wanted to talk today is the call to action so that you can continue the course, continue learning. And you've got to give the corporation, the big guy, you got to give him accolades and the ability to connect with you before all of the individuals. So they want to support the individuals, but the individuals have to support the company as well. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. We're putting all this out, and it wasn't a cheap seminar by any means. But it's all about the add-ons down the road, and I understand that. I've done this long enough. And to be honest with myself, I actually contemplated my whole position there and what I was going through. I actually had one young lady come up and tell me to get out of my head and start thinking with my heart. And I didn't quite know what that meant. I've always been, somewhat sensitive, but it was good for me, and I appreciate doing those types of things.
So let me ask you this. When you went to that event, and when we go to events like Achieve or whatever, do you have just intention? Incentive is what popped into my head, and I'm like, no, that's not the word. Did you have an intention when you attended that conference?
Every conference, and like I said, I for some reason I thought it was business oriented because of who had invited me to join, not to join the group, but to participate in this. I was kind of surprised that it was much more like a psych class than a business class. But I participate, as you know, in a lot of things. I try to show up. Driving 100 miles is not a big deal to me. If I meet one person and I get 1 point of value, then I have succeeded in my mission. And I accomplished much more than that. I actually had somebody come up to me. As you know, I'm starting a veterans group with Achieve. Uh, she offered me 8 scholarships to that seminar free of charge to give to my veterans group. Uh,
Really?
yeah, and they're $1,000 a piece. Uh,
Nice.
so, it's interesting. I met a cop, which is part of the veterans group. He's a chaplain with uh, one of the sheriff's departments here locally, and he got involved. So it's strange how things come together. And I'm a believer that things are going to happen. You just have to know what it is, try to understand it, and put it into its best perspective. I give a lot of it back to God and say, don't lead me off a cliff yet. I'm not ready.
But you also have to put yourself in a position to be open to receive.
Um,
Okay, you
I think I
can't,
do that. Yeah.
so you do, and you do it very well. So there's, it talks about, and I know Monday with Vanessa, you talk about goals and things, but it's great to have goals, right? Whether it's speaking or communication or business or health and wellness, whatever your goal is, it's fantastic. You have to have goals. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere, right? You got to have a direction, a path. But how are you going to get there? You can't just say it's in God's hands and I'm going to put it into the universe. God, energy, karma, everything, it's going to happen. It doesn't work that way. You have to put yourself in the position, in a situation to create communication. So I'm going to network. I'm going to do social media, right? I'm going to speak. I'm going, what am I going to do? And then what are the activities that you need to do that creates the momentum that makes the success happen? So you are not successful, each and every one. You're not successful because you just wanted it bad enough. You're successful because you created a plan and you did the actions and the activities, hopefully creating habits that lead to success. And it's all, and the foundation of it, of all of this, and this is what I truly believe, which is why I do what I do, starts with how we communicate with ourselves here, and then how we communicate with others. So if you didn't use your voice and show up that said, hey, you're not giving these people, you're advocating for them and you didn't even know it. You're not giving these people enough time to talk. Yeah, and guess what? I support veterans. Well, yeah, we already know you're an advocate. You're showing up. So using this along with this to communicate.
Well, and as you know, sometimes communicating with yourself is the toughest job you can have.
Oh, yes. So we speak at a rate of 200 to 300 words per minute. Okay, that's what the average is. And I would say I'm average, right? When my rate, my tone, all of that is about average. Here is 40,000 words per minute. This is the chatty Kathy that I joke about. This is the computer database that's running in the background that's just going and it's just going and going and going. And here's the crazy thing is 90%, studies show that 90% of what's going on up here is negative. So one of the things, I was just on stage last week and I said, and I'm going to share it with you today. And they asked me to say it multiple times because I know this message is important. If what you are saying to yourself, okay, in here, if you cannot say that out loud to a child or to your grandparent, you have no business saying it to yourself.
That's strong.
So let me say that again. If what you're saying to yourself here, if you know you cannot say that out loud to a child or to your grandparent, you have no business saying it to yourself. And that's when you start paying attention to the conversations in here. And then when you match it with, okay, could I say this to a kid? Could I say this to a 5-year-old? Could I say this to my child when she was little? Could I say it to my grandma, to my grandpa? if they were still alive? No. Well then, okay, I need to rethink that. I need to change the words. This is when we tell ourselves, God, I'm so stupid. I mean, how often do we say that to ourselves? We get in a kerfuddle or whatever it is, and we're like, I'm just so stupid. Well, words, even in here, have meaning. Our brain does not know the difference between fiction and reality when we say it. It doesn't. Our brain is, all I have to do is say the word ball, and your brain will picture a ball. Could be red, could be blue, could be a soccer ball, could be a baseball, whatever it is. Words matter. Words impact how we think. So it's important that we pay attention to the words that we're saying here. So that when we tell ourselves, you're so stupid. And quite honestly, that's our history. That's our baggage coming to play. That's our fears coming to play. And that's at that moment when we pay attention is when we start taking our power back and say, okay, thank you. That's our subconscious trying to protect us. Our brain's job is to protect us. Our subconscious brain, we get afraid to do something, whatever it is. Its job is to protect us. It's not out to quash us, hold us back. It's just trying to protect us. So that's when you lovingly say thank you. You can call it something. I call it the itty bitty shitty committee, right? Put a name onto that little voice and say thank you. I know you're trying to protect us, but no, I'm not stupid. This was just it. It was a mistake. I didn't fail. I learned. Right? I did the best I can with the information I had at the time. Does that make sense?
It does. And I always appreciate your words, even when I don't appreciate your timer.
But you're learning. See, you actually paid attention to the fact that you didn't, okay, so the moderator didn't create boundaries. In a minute, he could have created boundaries. In a minute or 2 minutes, could you tell us this? Instead, he asks an open-ended question, and then when they don't, he has to, jump in to either change the direction or to whatever he was doing.
Or to correct them. That I think that was more, it wasn't even changing the direction. He was chastising people as they were trying to answer, which I just have a tough time with. It's I've always been the one that stood up to bullies. And that's how I interpreted it.
Oh, I love it. See, and you kind of called him to the plate, and and you created a connection with other people in the audience just by doing that. So here's the thing that I will say also is that by you doing that, you not only showed up for yourself, right? And you were authentic to yourself, but you gave other people permission to be the same.
And without realizing it, I think that actually happened from what I said later, that, comments that people made.
Because any situation, I mean, you want to be authentic. Right? People, we want to be authentic, but because of the itty bitty shitty committee, we hold ourselves back and we don't use our words. We'll stay quiet and we'll be uncomfortable so that other people stay comfortable. But you gave them permission in that moment to be uncomfortable and to create an uncomfortable situation because you're just being authentic. And being uncomfortable is not bad. Now, if you were sitting there telling him that he's, a jackass and, was going off on a tangent and was being disrespectful, that's another thing. I'm saying always speak with grace, right? When you're speaking, you want to do, it's got to be good for you. It's got to be good for others. It's got to be good for the community. Whenever so I always say speak with ecology. Okay, that's an NLP term. Is ecology. So good for self, good for others, good for community. So if those three things, then communicate away, even if it's uncomfortable. Was that good?
Was good.
So what I wanted to talk about today was calls to action. And we will cover that next week because we only have 5 more minutes. So, what else is coming up for you? Mary Beth, you can throw that into the chat. What else is coming up for you as we're having this conversation?
Well, I mentioned the offer of the scholarships to the veterans chapter. Interesting enough, I have a friend that was also a Marine. She lives in Vegas, and she works. I don't know if you're familiar with who Randy Couture is. He's an actor. He is MMA champ. He was in all the expendable movies with Sly Stallone. She works in one of his gyms.
Okay.
She works with wounded warriors through a group called MVP, and that she just signed a contract last night with Nevada Highway Patrol to do. She does. I don't. It's. She calls it rolling out. It's basically stretching people to relieve tension. But she just signed a contract with the Highway Patrol that has 300 officers in it, and I'm going to be going out there, and we're going to try to see how we can bring law enforcement and the veteran groups back into what we're trying to do with the Achieve Veteran Group.
Nice.
So, yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be a pipe dream, but it's still kind of an interesting concept to, things start coming your way that you have to be positive about it and try to make them happen.
Always. So remember to pay attention what you've got going on in here. Incorporate here. So we have 3 brains, right? We have this one, our heart, and our gut. They're all in alignment. I mean, you've heard people say things like, "Oh, my gut was telling me," right? There's true. It is connected scientifically. It's proven. I told you I'm a nerd early on. I'm a nerd. It is scientifically connected. So when you think about moving forward, could it look like? Pay attention to the alignment. Is my gut, my heart, all of that. If all 3 are saying, "I don't know what this looks like, but let's do it," then there you go. So Mary Beth says, what's coming up for me is, am I coachable? I'm willing to learn from someone to mentor me so I have action items to stay in action. Am I willing to do something in the actions that I've been unwilling to do? Yes, that's true. That's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And what I can say about that, and I put my little coaching hat on here, is what's more uncomfortable, staying where you are or doing the things that are uncomfortable to get to where you want to go? Because what's more uncomfortable will drive. Staying where you're at, right? Staying where you're at. So that allows you to have the courage. It all starts with courage. To have the courage to do the things that are uncomfortable to get to where you want to go. And what I will say on that as well is, as you start doing those things that are uncomfortable, they become less uncomfortable. If you've ever played a sport, think about it. When you first started playing that sport, it wasn't comfortable. Whether you started running or basketball or whatever it was, fishing even. When you first started doing that, you had no idea what you were doing. It was uncomfortable. You weren't coordinated. You didn't like, "Oh, I caught everything," right? It starts off uncomfortable. And as you start doing it more, I'm a runner. Okay. I'm back to running again. It started off uncomfortable, but as the more you do it, the easier it gets, the less uncomfortable it is. So it's little by little, it's small shifts. And that's why I started off with talking about successes, because even just a little thing, I did the one thing I didn't want to do today, right? I did the one thing, success. Celebrate that, the little steps, and being open. right? I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right, Mac, you got to go.
No, I'm just going to make a statement. They call it fishing, not catching. And it's about the attempt and the whole routine, and that you can throw the fish back if you catch them.
Well, and what I like that analogy. And I like those words because fishing, my father's a fisher. Has been all his life. Taught us all. I know how to take the worm and put it on a hook. I know how to take the fish and get it off, and that was not my thing, but it was his thing, and he taught us kids and all us grandkids. My daughter has learned how to do that, and it was never ever about just the fish. It was about getting out there, being outside, being on the lake, the peace that it brings, all of that. And it made it worth it.
Well, and I think our daily lives are like that. I think so many people miss the process. It's always the result. And for me, the process is a major part. It's not just a routine, but it's understanding why you're meeting somebody. It's kind of like this seminar that I said I actually had told Vanessa the day before that I was thinking about not going because I was so busy. And the little Kathy went off in my head. You got to show up. You got to show up. and and I was glad that I did. But after I spoke up, I would have also been willing to get up and walk out and go back home and throw the money away, so to speak, because I had lots of things I could do. But we have to understand the process, that the result is kind of like the cherry on the sundae, but it's not the sundae.
Exactly. I love that you're feeling what I was talking about, Mac. I love that because
I'm trainable.
yes, because it's funny because we set goals. We talked about goals earlier, right? We set goals. Well, what happens when we accomplish that goal? We set another one. Okay, so it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about the progress. It's about the process. And we need to enjoy it along the way. So where we want to go, yeah, that's going to be amazing. It's going to be whether it's income, right? Whether it's a house that you want to live in, whether it's serving people, making impact, whatever that is. First of all, you can always go bigger. No matter what you do, you can always go bigger. So in thinking about, okay, what are the steps that I need to take to get there? How do I need to get uncomfortable and moving forward? But then it's that habit. It's creating that habit and enjoying it along the way, because the uncomfort zone is going to go away, and then we're going to be, it's going to be easier. But then guess what? We're going to enjoy the ride. This is going to be great, but then we're going to see that we can do more, and then we're going to increase our goal. So then guess what? We're starting all over again. Okay, what are the habits that I need to do to get me there? And I've got to embrace being uncomfortable and then just keep moving forward, because especially as entrepreneurs, we want to create an impact. We want to grow. We want big. We want to help. We want to influence. We want to show up. So we're just going to keep doing that. So focusing on the little things that you can do, improving communication here and here, so that other people we can connect and create and collaborate and move forward. Is that helpful? And then enjoy the ride.
I did put my contact info in the chat, Mary Beth, if you'd like to reach out.
And Mary Beth, I don't know if you and I have had a conversation, but I am happy to have that as well. If you want to put down your cell phone or email in there, I'm happy to reach out and connect with you as well. But for that, I will I will, oh, last, purposefully, was talking call to action. My speaker academy is coming up this Thursday and Friday, and I am offering a flash sale today, $200 off. So if you guys are interested in that, it is a 2-day immersive. We're talking about speaking. We're talking about the business side of speaking, and then we're talking about call to action. How do you create that attraction with your audience to make money? Because at the end of the day, it is a heck of a lot easier to grow your business one to many than one to one. And that's what I would teach, is the business side to speaking. So would love to have you guys in attendance. So there's my call to action. If you are so moved to speak to grow, attend my Influence Academy. Okay.
All righty.
Can I call you Tron? Yes. So I'm going to stop recording now.